Director Edgar Wright has turned Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the comic, into Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the movie.
This is Scott Pilgrim's precious little life.
Scott, if your life had a face, I would punch it.
Yeah. Wait, what?
You want to fight me for her? Why on earth would you want to do that?
Because I'm in love with her.
That was epic.
Hi, I'm Eric from SceneStealers.com.
And I'm Aaron from DadsBigPlan.com.
And we are in Elite Comics here in Overland Park, Kansas. Thanks to them for letting us shoot. And we're here to talk about Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which is a comic that was originated by Brian Lee O'Malley. Is that right?
Yep.
And Aaron actually has been brought in strategically, like he was on the Watchmen review, because he's a really big fan of this comic.
Way to pander.
Yeah, well, you know, we like to. It's like when I bring JD in for the Harry Potter reviews and then tear him to shreds. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, directed by Edgar Wright, the guy who did Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, which are two of my favorite parody tributes because they're so loving. He loves the genres that he does, and I think there's a lot of love in this movie as well. It gets a little misguided towards the end, but for the most part, visually, this movie's an absolute treat.
I would agree with that. I mean, and to say in terms of parody, this is not parody, it's sheer homage. Anybody who watched Spaced knew that Edgar Wright had comics on his brain, so it's a realm he's comfortable with. So he's a good choice to translate a comic book that's not your traditional capes and villains deal to the big screen. Yeah,
well, at the beginning of the movie, first half an hour of the film or so is pretty much the greatest half hour I've spent in a theater this year. I really think that the visual jokes, the kinetic energy, all the kind of stuff that he does really well in his other movies translate in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. But then when it starts to become kind of this action film where he has to take on the 7 exes of this girl Ramona that he's wooing, I think that's when it starts to become a little bit rote.
Well, I kind of disagree because I don't think it's necessarily the conflict that makes it rote. It's the fact that there's a lot of conflict to shove into a small amount of time. We're talking about a long series of books that's been coming out over the course of 6 years. To compress that down into one film, that's a tough job.
For the first half of the film, I thought Michael Cera was really great. He plays this kind of jerkwad. You know, you really don't like this guy. He's a real smartass. But then it just kind of... he just loses it and he becomes like this hangdog kind of guy who's in love, and you know, he doesn't really grow until the very end of the film, and then it feels a little bit forced, honestly.
My favorite part about it is the translation of the visual style. All the jokes are there. They're great. You get to get Superman and Captain America in the same movie. How often does that happen? And again, clever dialogue, well played out. So there's a lot to love and a lot that gets you energized in that first 2 reels of the film. So with that, you know, I'm positive on it. The ending lets me down, and it stays with me as I go on. It's like I've chugged a pixie stick and the sugar rush is gone, and now I'm just kind of feeling sick to my stomach. But I think back on it now talking, I'm like, you know what, that actually was fun. I laughed a lot.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I'm going to say, minor rock fist up.
I came out of the film really, really enjoying it, even though I felt let down by the ending. And like you said, as time goes on, you realize, well, what did I actually learn about this guy? Well, maybe not so much. And the ending of the book is different because they were working on them at exactly the same time. So this is one of those times where I just wish they could have waited maybe another 6 months to 8 months and done the ending from the comic book, because it sounds a whole lot better than what we saw. Other than that, though, I mean, this movie is a wonder to look at, and it really has some of the funniest stuff in it. It really moves. It has a lot of energy. I'm actually giving it a little higher review than you. I'm going to go rock fist up. Just regular, solid rock fist up. Not way up, because there were definitely some problems, but I do want to see it again.